He was a morbidly obese surgeon destined for an operating table and an early death. Now he's a rebel MD who is fabulously fit and fighting to make America healthy again. This is Stay Off My Operating Table with Dr. Philip Ovadia.
Hey folks, it's the Stay Off My Operating Table podcast with Dr. Philip Ovadia. We are joined today by a guest we had, a little over 2 years ago. It was really cool. I'm looking forward to hearing what's going on new with her, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Phil.
Sounds good. Really excited to have Robin Switzer back with us. Robin runs really one of the premier conferences around metabolic health, Hack Your Health, and it is coming up in November, and really excited to talk about that and just really the big picture around the metabolic health movement. I think since we last spoke with Robin 2 years ago, there's been a lot of changes there. Give Robin a chance to reintroduce herself.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. My name is Robin Switzer. I own and produce an event called Hack Your Health, which I have been doing since 2017. In those days, the event was branded KetoCon, the science and stories of keto. And in 2022, we decided to rebrand in order to expand the conversation outside of just the ketogenic diet. So Hack Your Health has evolved into a different type of event where we're not only talking about nutrition, but we're exploring all areas of health. And this probably is no coincidence because it coincides with my own personal wellness journey. So when I started doing KetoCon, that was a result of me finding recovery from a lot of the issues that I had dealt with because I was insulin resistant. So over the years, as my health continued to improve, my curiosity, my desire to understand more about wellness continued to grow. And so it coincided with the rebrand of Hack Your Health. So here we are. We moved the event to Tampa last year, which I know Phil is happy about. So you don't have to travel back to Austin. And we had a good year. It was a little bit bumpy for us, but we've corrected all the issues that we had. So this year is going to be, it's looking like one of the best events that we've ever done. We spend 3 days exploring all the different areas of health, mental wellness, metabolic health, nutrition, and whatever's trending in the wellness world. We talk about that as well. This year we have movement classes baked into the agenda, morning movement classes and breathwork sessions and all kinds of fun stuff so that people can really immerse themselves in all different types of activities.
Yeah, maybe let's just first talk about why do you think, what's the value of conferences, right? People these days, they can get all the information without leaving their house. You can get on YouTube, there's virtual events, virtual conferences, books, whatever format you like, you can get the information. So what do you see as the unique value of conferences in this space?
Community. So there's really, yes, you can watch Dr. Ovadia talk all about heart health on YouTube and you can listen to his podcast, but that's not the same thing as sitting in front of him and listening to him talk and then watching him walk off stage and going to personally ask him a question. There's nothing like watching, for instance, someone stand on a vibration plate and them saying, oh, this feels really good, this is exciting. It's totally different than going and standing on it yourself. And the third thing, which is really the biggest, is community, because we have people that come year after year because they've built relationships at these events and they come back to see each other every year. It's really hard to, when you're on a health journey, to be on an island by yourself. And if you have community where you feel supported, your chances of success are much greater.
Yeah, I would certainly echo that. The experiences at these conferences really are amazing and getting to meet people, right? And I can say that both, that's how I started, right? I had learned about the low carb and read the books and started doing it. But I think it really kicked into the first conference I went to and I met other people doing it, met other doctors talking about it, but just met the people. And back then, I didn't have a practice, wasn't public, none of the stuff, no social media or anything like that. I was really there to learn. And it's an amazing experience. And now being on the other side of it, having the opportunity to educate other people, but to meet all the people, right? It's just always been an amazing experience. And it really is always a highlight when I can get to these conferences and be a part of that community. And
Right.
I'll say that the conferences around metabolic health and low carb and carnivore and keto and all the stuff, biohacking, they really are. It is a very welcoming community. It is such a positive environment, and
Yeah.
the interaction between the speakers and the attendees and just all the interaction that goes on there is always amazing. Talk about, again, like you said, you've been doing this since 2017, went through COVID period, but just talk about what's changed over that time and what you've seen around the health movement, the biohacking health movement that we're all a part of now. What have you seen change during that time?
Well, I'd like to take a little bit of a step back because I think that when we rebranded and used the word hack your health, we created a perception that we were a biohacking event. And I don't see Hack Your Health as a biohacking event. I really see Hack Your Health as a place where people come to begin a journey, to continue a journey, to optimize, to build momentum in their wellness journeys. So while biohacking is probably a category that we talk about, I don't want people to have the perception that this is a biohacking event. This event is about learning and experiencing. And what's changed in this space is in 2017, it was all about community, and people were just so excited to be together because when 2017, someone's on the ketogenic diet, most times no one in their family or in their small circle is either. And so they can go to a place where everybody is passionate about the same thing, it lifts you up. And then over the years, as the conversation became a little bit more diluted, it was keto, carnivore, just high fat, low carb, low fat, all this kind of stuff. People stayed in their buckets. Yeah, I think a big mistake in this environment is that people look at their diet as a religion and they use it as a reason to keep themselves separated in separate funnels, separate groups. And I don't see it that way. We don't talk only about the ketogenic diet or the carnivore diet or low carb at our events because it's not the right fit for everybody. Everybody has to find what works best for them. And that's really what we explore here. But what I've seen change, I think most recently, is we saw this surge of tech, wearables, everything's wearable. Wear your Oura Ring, wear your watch, all the headgear, all this different stuff. And I experienced this as well. I call it optimizing fatigue or
Yes,
fatigue optimization,
I did
optimization
too.
fatigue, optimization fatigue. I remember the experience of looking at my Oura Ring after I'd wake up in the morning, feel great. I'd look at my Oura Ring and it said, your sleep sucked. And God, I thought I slept pretty good. So I stopped wearing it because of that. I don't wear any trackable devices outside of occasionally I'll wear a glucose monitor.
Continuous
Yeah,
glucose
glucose
monitor.
monitor occasionally just to see how I'm doing. So I think that is a big change in that people are sick of all the list of 30 things you have to do to optimize, and people are dialing it back. And I like to see that because I think that finding your own path to wellness doesn't require you wear all these different devices and track all this stuff. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is the move away from optimizing and moving towards a more balanced approach.
Did you see any kind of surge when RFK was named head of the DHS, his Make America Healthy Again movement? As somebody who's been paying attention for years, although certainly not an insider, I personally was thrilled. And I assumed, although I have no measurable proof, that simply having someone of his social stature and his credibility advocating for the things that those of us in the metabolic health world have been talking about for years,
Sure.
I had to assume that probably brought a lot more people into a position of interest. I'm just wondering if and how you've seen that.
I haven't really seen more interest that I can equate to that position from him. But as someone who sits inside this bubble with you guys and watch what happens within this space, I think he's done amazing work. Outside of the loss that we experienced with glyphosates, I feel like they've done a lot of really good work. However, I was thinking about this yesterday, this new food pyramid. I don't know how much people paid attention to the food pyramid before. Do you really think that anybody used the food pyramid personally to determine what they were going to eat and what they weren't going to eat? I think that is more for dietary guidelines for restaurants, for hospitals, and I do think that's a good thing. I do. I think a lot of good things have happened. I do. The conversation has expanded. I think more people are participating in the conversation.
Robin, you and I were talking prior to recording, and you were saying that simply because you've been through the battles, you fought some wars, you know that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And I think you're calling attention to the food pyramid is a perfect example of this. I remember when I was in school, and you and I are roughly the same decade, late 30s, right? And I remember in school, the food pyramid was part of health class.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, when you're 10, 12, 13 years old, and experts, the adults tell you, oh, this is what to do, you absorb it without actually making a conscious decision to do. So it was a long, bloody time, well into my adulthood, before I even began questioning that food pyramid. It was a matter of years, in other words, for that to show up either positively or negatively. I have to believe that this change in the food pyramid, we're certainly not going to see any society-wide impact right away. But those kids who are like me, who are exposed to this is how to eat, are exposed to just smarter guidance from the authorities, from the experts. It's a marathon. It's not
Yeah, it's definitely.
fixed overnight.
Or there's really not very many things that can be fixed overnight, is there? In life, other than like changing your diet.
Yeah, that's a good point. So anybody you're excited about having for first time at Hack Your Health? Any presenters,
I'm not excited about any of the speakers. No,
I think she's being sarcastic, folks.
let's see. So somebody that is, of course, I'm excited that Phil is going to be speaking again. So I can't just omit that. One of the people that we're having this year for the first time is Dr. Sean O'Mara,
Oh,
who
excellent.
I am really impressed by his work. I love the fact that he's raised the bar for people my age. And I really think that's something that's been missing for a long time.
I hadn't thought about it that way. Remind folks, I'm a big fan of Sean as well, but remind folks the core of his message and why it's so important.
I think he's 62 years old, in great shape.
Sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah, he's in great shape. And his background is fascinating, all the different things that he's done. But he currently works with very high profile people, celebrities, medical professionals, politicians. And his philosophy is how to look at the body and understand not just how you look on the outside, but how much visceral fat you have and how that's impacting your health and how to address it and how he has steps and protocols to address it. And he works with people my age. And the last person I think I saw where he was talking about is a guy that was in his 80s. And so this guy is now fit. He's reversed all this visceral fat that he had. He's reversed his exterior, what is that called? The fat that's under your skin.
The subcutaneous.
Yeah, subcutaneous fat. And thank you. And this is why we need a physician on the call. And the guy is thriving. If at 82, someone can turn their health around and start thriving, that gives people that they're in their 60s a lot of hope. And I don't know about you, but Jack, I don't know how old you are. So I'm 63.
39.
Okay, me too. And most of my friends, family, people who are in my age bracket are really slowing down.
Yeah.
Really slowing down. In your 60s, what you did in your 40s and 50s really catch up with you. For him to take someone in their 80s and turn around his health markers is just fantastic. And of course, he is very pro carnivore, and he incorporates fermented vegetables into his protocol to help build the gut microbiome, which a lot of people can't do on strictly carnivore. And I thought that was really fascinating. I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that Sean is always great. And it's just all the different voices that you're bringing into this conversation. Like you said, what I think is unique about Hack Your Health, as that doesn't go on at some of the other conferences, is it's really not, like you said, overly focused on one aspect of health. It's really bringing in all the different aspects of health. And there is a diversity of opinions there. It's not a group think. And I think that's good. And I think it's done in a way that's very positive and gives people, the attendees, a chance to really explore all these different concepts around health and figure out what might apply well to them. And there are going to be some things that won't apply well to everyone. But I think that's what's so great about this.
Do you know who, I should know this answer, but I don't. Do you know Dr. His last name is pronounced Gymnatus, I think. He's out of Orlando.
Yep, cardiologist out of
Yes.
Orlando.
He will be speaking this year for the first time. And I had been watching him on YouTube for years. And his direct, no-nonsense approach that I think he records when he's teaching. So all this stuff is on YouTube. I just love the way that he talks to people. He's no nonsense with him. This is what has to be done. This is how you have to fast. This is for how long. So I'm excited to have him coming this year as well. Another one is a gentleman by the name of Brian Hoyer, who is an EMF specialist. So he has a company called Shielded Healing. And we haven't really talked about this subject at Hack Your Health, about the impacts of EMF. So I'm excited to have him as well. And another
EMS?
EMF.
Oh, electromagnetic frequencies. Okay.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I've recently become interested.
Well, that's going to be a really interesting conversation. He has, let me think if I can remember. He went on YouTube. He went to Ben Greenfield's home and fixed his home for all the EMF stuff. And there's a couple of other high profile people in the wellness industry that he works with. And his company goes all over the country setting up people's homes so that they're not impacted by the EMFs.
Oh, gee, sounds like we need to have him on, Phil.
You do. You do. And if you'd like me to introduce you, I'd be happy to.
That would be cool.
A couple of others. Mike Chesney. Do you know who Mike Chesney is? He's a ketone researcher, exogenous ketone. Oh. And he is partnered with a company called Tecton that was at Hack Your Health a couple of years ago. Another one of the brands that he works with is going to be there this year called Wisdom. And he knows the deal with exogenous ketones, and he's in the thick of the studies and the research. So he'll be speaking this year. Excited about that one too. That would be a great guest for you as well.
Yeah, and I'd ask all kinds of questions about that.
Yeah. Then there's another, you won't be familiar with this gentleman. His name is Tariq, and his last name is Adwan. So he owns a company that does DNA testing, and the DNA testing is very easy to do, but they provide you back a report based on your DNA. They make dietary recommendations on what would work best based on your DNA, which I think is really interesting. So I never have believed in any of that. However, I took the test and I know what works best for me now. And it was spot on. So I know the DNA isn't a destiny for nutritional stuff. However, I do think it could be a really good guide for people who want insight, a really good guide.
But I definitely am interested in that. I cannot remember the guy's name, but years ago, like decades ago, there was a doctor who had a thesis that he could guide, he could, that your blood type
Yeah,
had a great effect on the type of diet that would work for you.
I remember that.
And I think it's called Eat for Your Type. His
Yep.
son went into the field, was determined to prove his dad wrong, did the study and found out, gosh, Pop was right, but it was all blood type based. And then here in my own home, we've demonstrated that because the diets that work best for me are basically the high fat, medium protein, low or no carb. And my wife has tried eating like me, and it just doesn't work for her the way it
Mhm.
does for me. And as it turns out, she and I have two wildly different blood types. So
Okay.
it would scratch that itch I have to understand the why.
Sure.
How come I can eat this way and I feel awesome and she eats this way and she does not? So I dig the science stuff behind that.
You
I,
need to come to Hack Your Health this.
I was going to say, as someone who's been once, a couple of years ago, I got to go, hung out with Phil's team.
Hmm.
And most of my history of conferences has been in the tech world.
Hmm.
And there's always an energy in the tech world, but it's a different kind of energy in the conferences. It's real salesy oriented. It's real, we've got the newest, best stuff. And I don't know. And Hack Your Health was an entirely different vibe. It was, it'd be something I'd be thrilled to take my kids to, my grandkids. Yes, even at 39, I have grown grandkids.
I think if you were really nice to Phil, he'd give you some of his passes.
You think? Okay, I'll
Yeah.
suck up to Phil later.
If not,
Mm.
just let me know and we'll make sure.
No, but I just for the listeners, as someone who's done his share of trade shows and conferences over the decades, I will confess when Phil said, "Hey, you want to come to Austin as part of the team?" If I didn't have another reason to also be in Austin that week, I would have probably turned him down. And I am so glad that I didn't because all the reasons that you've said and more, it's so encouraging to be around folks who are basically all on the same health journey. We're all pointed in the same direction. We're tired of feeling crappy. We want to feel better. We've learned that the traditional medical approach of drugs and knives is not going to get us there. And we've taken it into our own hands to try to figure out what will work for us. And for me, it was silly to be on people would walk by Dr. Ovadia's booth and go, "Oh my God, it's Dr. Ovadia." There was a little bit of that starstruck kind of thing.
Sure.
And, hey, Phil's just a guy. We've been doing this together for 5 years. And yet I found myself doing the same thing.
Sure.
I saw Sean Baker walking down the aisle and went, "Oh my God, Sean Baker."
He'll be
And
there.
then I realized I'm being an idiot because these are all just folks, but everybody wants to help as opposed to everybody wants to sell.
Let me tell you something. This will give you some insight. We don't pay speakers. Speakers who come to Hack Your Health pay their own airfare. They don't get speaker fees. They pay their own lodging. The only thing I do is feed them at a VIP dinner on Saturday night, and they get a shirt. So all of these people who come to this event are doing it because they want to help the movement grow. They want to help people. And so you just called out what I think is the difference between Hack Your Health and all the other events. It's that people come here to either maintain momentum or to start building it. Wherever they are in their health journey, the one thing that everybody has in common is that they believe tomorrow and the next year and the following year have the possibility of being better than they are today. And they want to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
So when you're in an environment, I'm getting goosebumps right now. When you're in an environment where you are surrounded by people who are operating at that level of energy, you feel it. So that's why it's so uplifting. Everybody is there because they're passionate about being well. So when you're around people who are passionate about something that's positive, it fills you up, it lifts you up. And the only problem is, how do we keep that going for the whole year? And that's where the community comes in.
Yeah.
For the whole year until we do the event again.
Phil, you've seen, we just got off of a team meeting. And again, as an outsider to Phil's organization, it's fun that they let me sit in on this stuff. We're seeing tremendous interest for people wanting to get healthy and having success. Phil, I'm going to put you on the spot. Will you brag a little bit about what you've seen Ovadia Heart Health be able to deliver here in the last, what is it, 5 years now?
I'm actually gonna just brag about what Robin's been able to do and the growth in that conference over the past 4 years that I've been attending or involved in it. And just again, my next question for Robin was going to be, what do we do to continue to grow this? From my perspective, yeah, the difference in the interest going back 6, 7, 8 years ago to today, and just the fact that it is now part of the national conversation, that we do have it just health is part of the discussion in a very real way. And just, I'm excited. I know the conference is going to be even bigger this year than it was last year, and last year was bigger than the year before. And just to see that growth and that interest. But I also recognize that there's a lot of room to grow, right? This is still a very much a grassroots movement, and we just got to keep spreading the word. And events like this are great. And I'd love to kind of hear from Robin. It's one thing to promote these things within our existing community, and of course you get a lot of interest. But what have you seen in terms of, we'll call it, outside the community interest? First, people coming to the conference that haven't really been thinking about this stuff, but something grabs their interest about it. And sure, I'd love to hear your perspective on how we get more of those people.
Yeah. So, Phil, that was a really good handoff. You didn't want to brag about your own business and you just punted to me. That was really good. Very suave. However, we're going to come back to that. So, how am I doing it? One of the ways that I know reasons that I know that it's working, because in the past 2 weeks, we've had 3 different companies sign up to exhibit at Hack Your Health that we've never spoken to. So, I have Ryan, my son, manages all the expo and the exhibitor sales. So he's the one who's talking to all these people. He had never spoken to any of them. So I know that people are learning about the event. We do that through YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and email. I'm not on any other social channels. I am on LinkedIn, but I don't do anything there. I probably should. But how, outside of promoting an event, how do we reach people? That is such a good question. The MAHA movement, like you said, is definitely helping. It's at least expanding awareness. The way that we can do this is by living a life that's an example to other people. Because when people see you doing well, they're going to want to know how you're doing it.
Yeah.
So if Sean O'Mara can get me in really good shape by the time I'm 65, then I'll start attracting a lot of 65-year-old women that want to get into shape. I'm just joking around, but I think that what you just called out the biggest dilemma, really. How do we reach people? My personal experience, and I know your personal experience, Phil, is that when people are ready to make change, the possibilities find them. When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
So the only way that we can help people is keep on living that life as an example. And when they're ready, they'll ask, or they'll see, or the right person will say the right thing at the right time, or something will pop up on their Instagram feed. They'll see something on TV. I wish that we could help. I wish that we could build this groundswell faster. There's so many people that are not well. I spend my days, as I know that you both do, too much time in front of a screen, but I spend my days in a bubble talking to and surrounded by people in this space. But when you step outside of this space, there is an overwhelming world of people who are not well. And you see them walking up and down the streets, you see them everywhere. The lines at McDonald's are a lot longer than the lines at the farm stand. Like you said, we have a really long way to go. It happens slowly. I really wish we could do it faster. If there was a way, I'd be all in. But
But isn't that part of the problem? We're getting philosophical here, but we've been a culture for 5, 6, 7 decades that has been addicted to the quick fix.
sure.
And the quick fix is why we're here.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. There are very few things that I remember when I had, and I've told this story many times, but when I finally found a doctor, a naturopath, by the way, who could diagnose what the heck was going on with me, and he told me, here's the things you're going to have to do to recover your health. And I asked him, I said, point blank, so how long is it going to take me to get
Sure.
back? And his answer was, you didn't get in this overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely spot on perfect. It took me, I don't know, 10 months of absolutely strict paying attention. And the only reason I was so strict about it was, one, my girlfriend was a cardiac care intensive care nurse, and she didn't want me in one of her beds.
Sure.
And I was just so bloody sick of being sick. I had to get well.
Yeah.
But it took spiraling down to practically being dead before I got desperate enough. It's almost like the alcoholic story. They got to bottom out before they admit, I can't do
But I
this.
think, yeah, I think at a societal level, that's what I see, right? I think we have bottomed out, right? And I think enough people are sick enough, right? And things like COVID, right, really highlighted this in how both in how sick people got, right, because they were unhealthy to start with, and also just quite frankly, it opened a lot of people's eyes to the fact that what the medical establishment puts out there as the answer isn't always the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people became a lot more willing to question things and to start seeking their own path and doing their own research and not just blindly accepting what was this is the path to health. I do feel that we're getting to that parabolic part of the curve, right, with this whole thing. And since everyone's insisting, right, that I start talking about the business a little bit, right, that's exactly what we're seeing within our practice is the demand is going parabolic. And there are just more and more people that are finding us because they just started poking around and saying,
Sure.
I don't quite think that whatever it is, in our case, mostly heart disease questions, right? I just don't think that what I'm being told and how I'm being told to approach my health is maybe the only answer.
Okay.
And let me go look at some other things. And then they stumble upon whatever it might be, ketogenic diets, carnivore, biohacking of all sorts, right? And that's going to lead them to things like Hack Your Health, and that leads them to our practice and all of the things that go with it.
I'm curious, Phil, you're seeing like a surge of people looking for answers. Are those people, what is the average age of those people? Are they coming to you younger and younger? Or are they?
Yeah, it's been an interesting mix. You
Okay.
mentioned that Sean O'Mara and the 80-year-olds. We have at least a half dozen 80-year-olds, and we even have a couple in their 90s
Okay.
in the practice now. And I
Okay.
also I met just yesterday with someone in their 30s, right? And we have a couple of younger people that some of them, they already have the bad health problems, right? They already had a heart attack in their 30s, for instance. And of course, that rightfully got their attention. But we have a couple of people in their 30s who are really just, they're like, I want to do everything I can to prevent the problems. They've realized that. And so they are being very proactive about that and seeking out the best information and the people that are really, because again, anyone who is honestly looking at our healthcare system realizes that it does an absolutely lousy job in prevention. It's great when you're sick. And again, it is the premier health care system in the world, and everyone comes here when they're sick. But if you're trying to not become sick, our healthcare system does not have the answers for you. And I think more and more people are looking for that. And again, it's a lot of what we see at the conference is that whole spectrum, right? There are some at your conference, at other conferences, I've met a lot of sick people, right? And they really struggle to get there, but they do it, and they're starting their journey, and they're starting to get better, and they're getting hope, which I think is one of the most important we can do for people. And then there are also just a lot of people who are doing everything they can to make sure that they don't get to that point that they have to bottom out and be that sick, and they're being proactive. And it's great. And I think ultimately we can help both ends of that spectrum.
You know where I would really love to feel like I made a difference? I have 2 grandkids, a 6-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And I'm around them a lot. And I'm around them when they're with their friends. And I see them when they're at school. And I see what kids are eating. And yeah, my mom gave me TV dinners when I was 10 years old. TV dinners in the early 70s were a lot better than what these kids are eating. Literally, I know a lot of children who wake up eating processed food. They eat it all day. They don't eat a single real food item, a single one. I can't imagine the health problems that these children are going to have pretty quickly. That's where I want to it would make me feel good if I could make a difference there before I die. I want to help. I think if we can get those young people who are raising children right now and get their attention now, that we could have a huge impact on the trajectory, the long-term picture.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to help people where they are today, but from a grandmother's perspective, from a nurturer's perspective, I really want to make a difference with those families that have young kids.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. And I think the food pyramid will help with that, back to the food pyramid, because the schools are going to have to adhere to that. And from what I hear, Kennedy is working on changing what hospitals are going to be serving, which is awesome. That's going to impact daycare centers. And so I do think that all of those things will help.
I want to point out something else that is so obvious that it gets overlooked. And that is, and this is specifically for things like Hack Your Health. We are so used to interacting with one another like the 3 of us are doing right now, thousands of miles apart, mediated by all kinds of technology. And it's easy to forget that this particular form of connecting with other human beings is very new for us as a species. And just simply being physically in the same location with other people who are all pointed in the same general direction at the same time has a power that is impossible to communicate electronically. It can't be done. And that's not just true about health activities like we're talking about. It's true about all of human endeavor. In fact, I'm sure we've had all kinds of guests who talked about this, but it's been a passion of mine for a long time. This human to human, face to face, person to person connection. So I just want to take the opportunity to encourage everybody who's watching, everybody who's listening, assuming that, oh, you know what, we didn't talk about the date. Let's make sure that people know the date of Hack Your Health.
Okay. Hack Your Health is November 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Tampa Convention Center in Tampa, Florida. Tickets have been on sale for several months now. We have a discount code for the Ovadia community. It's iFixHearts, which will discount any ticket purchased online by $100.
There you go. So if you're listening to this prior to November 13th, 2026, do yourself a favor. Do your friends who are trying to get well, your family who's trying to support you or whose support you need, go be there in person. Feel the feeling of being in the same room, the same physical space with people who are all pointed the same way.
And if you are, oh, sorry.
I promise you, it will encourage you, it will build you up on the inside in a way that watching 1,000 YouTubes and listening to 100 podcasts won't do, because it can't do it.
And if you are local to the Tampa Bay area and you can't come all 3 days, or you only want to come one day, whatever, we will have a 1-day ticket. It's not on the website. It's only available at the door. So you can come for 1 day. And I'm assuming that most people won't do that until our schedule is live, which won't be done until probably September.
Very good. All right, Robin, I'm so glad that we got to talk to you today. I have caught myself recently thinking about Hack Your Health when I was there in Austin a couple of years ago. And without realizing it, I was wishing we could have a conversation again. And my calendar comes up today and says, "Oh, we're talking to Robin Switzer." And I guess the student was ready, so the teacher was ready.
That's right.
So that's hackyourhealth.com.
Correct.
The details you're going to need to get all the rest of the stuff done will be there on the website. The discount for listeners of the podcast is iFixHearts, one word. And we'll make sure all that stuff shows up in the show notes. All you got to do is click on it.
Wonderful.
Last words from anybody?
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you both in November.
Should be fun.
It
And
better be fun.
one final shout out to our host and the founder of the show, Dr. Phil Ovadia. He was in the operating room less than an hour prior to coming onto the show. I don't know how he does it.
I don't just play one on TV.
He doesn't just play one on TV. All right, for Robin Switzer of Hack Your Health and Dr. Philip Ovadia, this has been Stay Off My Operating Table. We're here every week. We look forward to talking with you again. See you next time.
Thank you.
Chances are you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't need to change your life and get healthier. So take action right now. Book a call with Dr. Ovadia's team. One small step in the right direction is all it takes to get started. Contact us at ifixhearts.com/talk. That's ifixhearts.com/talk.